flowing through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step, still hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear I've weighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
Hello guys and welcome back to the Golden Show here on the Blue Podcast. 2 episodes in 1 week for all you beautiful. You're getting absolutely spoiled this week. Of course, we've got George here with me as always. George, how are you doing?
Very good, Josh. Yep. Obviously a very exciting and exhilarating night of football has just transpired or just finished last night. So, yep. Very happy at the moment and roll on the weekend. Obviously, a day with destiny. But yeah, very excited to talk about football as always. And thank you to the Blue Podcast for having me as always.
That's fair enough. Let's just talk about Sunday. Obviously, a game against it today at Wembley, 8:00 UK time. Is Gareth Southgate going to be the manager who finally does it with England at a major tournament?
It's the sort of, yeah, I mean, ultimately, the players, I don't believe in their entire careers will ever get a better opportunity than this. I don't necessarily see that this as being something that will be, I hope I'm proven wrong in this, but I don't necessarily see this being a regular occurrence that will make the final of major tournaments. I know we do have a very good set of players now, as we know, but, this really is a golden opportunity to finally win some silverware and end ultimately 55 years of hurt. Italy are obviously a very impressive team. Probably the only team, back in the quarters, they were the only team that I said that I thought could possibly stop England. And obviously they're now they're now the final obstacle in order to do so. They've obviously got an incredible record. I think it's 34 matches, I believe, unbeaten now. In international football, which is no mean feat. Obviously, when you do look at those matches, what I would say about them is a lot of them are against terrible sides, really, really poor ones like Lithuania and I can't remember. In fact, I actually sort of looked it through, and like I said, but there are some very, very poor sides. One of them, in fact, they actually got the result where they had the most amount of different scorers in international. It was a record most amount of different scorers in an international game, because I think they scored with lots of different players. But I think it was a 9-1 against someone. But obviously Italy, I think since the group stages, I feel they've been against better opposition. They've been looked quite vulnerable, especially down obviously their right back Di Lorenzo. I think Doku in the quarterfinals with Belgium, I feel like he rinsed him like a dishcloth many times, and I also feel like Austria should have beaten them, I think we both agreed on that. In the second half of that game, Austria should have beaten them, albeit obviously overall you could say Italy with a better team if you take into account the entire game, including the extra time. But obviously in that second half, Austria should have beaten Italy. They had all the chances, all the opportunities, and Italy looked dog-tired, and they should have beaten them. And again, obviously, as we know, the semi-final, Spain were by far the better side. Dominated all the possession, all the the balls, all the shots. But unfortunately, as we know with Spain, they lack a goal scorer, which is always a major problem when you need to get over the line. And obviously bringing Morata on. But like I said, I think with Italy, I think they are a very good side, and ultimately they could definitely beat us. But I still feel like England have a better. I still we'll always back England in a way, but I feel like England do have more of a chance than Italy. The main reason for that, I feel, is that in particular, I think we have a better overall squad than Italy. I think substitutes are going to come into this, and I feel like with the plethora of talent we have on the bench is much more than Italy have, especially in attacking options. I mean, we can throw on Jadon Sancho, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Marcus Rashford, and they're sort of throwing on Berardi and Bellotti and people like that, who are, again, obviously, probably, like I said, they still could win, and obviously those people could come in handy. But on paper, we do have a better squad than them, and it's just up to Gareth Southgate to utilise that correctly and ensure that we win. I think first goal is going to be absolutely vital. I think whoever scores the first goal will probably win. It's two of the best defences in the competition against one another. But ultimately, I think, especially with Raheem Sterling coming into some very good form, we need to isolate a lot of those defenders. I think Emerson, obviously, you'll know better than I, but obviously Emerson is much weaker than Spinazzola as a left back. And again, I think Italy, without Spinazzola, they don't have as much threat going forward either. I think that was very noticeable against Spain. I think the mistake by Eric Garcia, who's a bit of a, a lot of people don't necessarily rate him, obviously allowed Chiesa to score. But I think Italy very much struggled to go forward compared to their other matches. So Spinazzola's a massive miss for them. It's just whether they can, realise their potential, and whether they don't, and hopefully they don't bottle it. Because, like I said, and also the other thing is key. I think substitutions will be absolutely key. But it is still an up in the air match. Either side could win. It's definitely a battle of the two best teams at the tournament. But I would always back England. You probably already knew in a way.
I take it you would agree. I think you would agree that obviously the home support that you guys will play a big role in this.
Yeah, I think it is obviously a massive advantage for us. I think that was always going to be that was always one of the reasons why I had England as one of my favourites. Anyway, I actually had in my pre-tournament, I had a team, obviously 8 teams. I had I sort of seeded in my own head, and I had France as number 1, Portugal as number 2, Germany as number 3, England as number 4, Italy as number 5. It was 6. 6 was Belgium, 7 was Netherlands, and 8 was Spain. So I always knew it was going to be one of those 8 teams that was going to win the. I always thought at least that one of those teams was going to win it. And obviously England, I always had one of my major reasons for placing them so highly was not only obviously because of our squad, but also because of the home advantage. I think that's such a massive, it's massive fillip. It's been proven over 90 odd years in all of footballing history that hosts host nations always tend to do well because they've got obviously that advantage of playing on home soil. There's all that sort of euphoria and all the home, sort of that 12th man of the crowd. So yes, I think that will play a big part. But what I would say is obviously the Italians do have very strong mentality, so I don't think it will play as much of a part. I think it's all about these players now, and it's all about them keeping it tight, and in particular, like I said, exposing Italy's defence, which I think is weaker now without Spinazzola, and also I think Di Lorenzo can be got at.
So, what players for you in that England squad would be key to beating Italy in the final? What players do you think need to step up and play to their absolute best?
Well, I think the one concern I have is obviously with one of the keys to how well Spain did against Italy was because they kept the ball so well, which I think as you may remember, in the last couple of minutes of extra time in the second half last night, England did keep the ball splendidly. There was actually about a 2 or 3 minute passing move that just wasted time perfectly. But so that's what England need to do, is they need to pass the ball quickly and methodically and ensure that we keep possession a bit like Spain did. But it's just whether we've got the ball players and the technicians to do so. Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice I don't necessarily rate in a ball playing aspect. I think they're both, quite sound defensively, but when it comes to actually, passing the ball and controlling the game, I think they do struggle. Especially, I think Calvin Phillips. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I think he was our worst player last night. I think he lost the ball countless times. He shooting as well mindlessly a few times when he's almost sort of just really, for me, offensively, which I want to see a lot more of him. But you would have to say the midfield battle is always key in every match, and that is probably where England have a slight weakness, because you can't really compare obviously Phillips, Rice and Mount to Jorginho, Verratti and Barella. I think though they do have the better technicians in that regard, but it's where there are sort of greater energy, I think, whether that comes to bear. You've got to, like I said, Raheem Sterling's key, because if he plays like he did against Denmark, we all know he obviously had 16 take-ons attempted and 10 of them completed, which was a tournament record. In fact, more than any other player in one match over their entire tournaments. In one match, only 4 people, in fact, have completed more take-ons in their entire tournament than Raheem Sterling did in that one match. So he was phenomenal. If he can do that, like I said, against either one of their fullbacks, Emerson or Di Lorenzo, I think the Italians will be all over the place. And obviously Saka exactly the same, because I think he will start on the other flank. Harry Kane, you need to ensure that you take your chances, because I think you were a bit wasteful again against Denmark. I think that game should have been out of sight. And Italy won't, as we know, give up too many chances. But if they give up a similar amount of chances as they did to Spain, even if it's slightly fewer, Harry Kane is vital to ensure that he actually scores them, because we need someone who's clinical. We definitely don't want penalties. That's obviously a thing where Italy would probably most definitely win. So we want to avoid that at all costs and make sure it's done in 90 or at the very least in extra time. So those are all key. Jordan Pickford, he needs to sort of dust himself off, because I think he showed some jitters and a real lack of composure compared to the other matches. I think against Denmark, some of his kicking was absolutely atrocious and wild. And obviously defensively, I think Maguire and Stones need to continue to be that rock solid partnership. Obviously, we haven't conceded, unlike Italy, who have conceded once in every single knockout match they've played. The only goal that we've conceded, obviously, is that Damsgaard one. So no goals we've conceded from open play. So we have to be very careful about our sort of set pieces. But again, I think also as well, Harry Maguire offensively, I think will be very good, very important, because if we want to score some maybe from a set piece. I think he was exemplary against Denmark. He was very unfairly, in my opinion, booked for one of his leaps, but he seemed to be dominating in that air in the opposition box. So important for him. So yeah, there's so many key players. I could basically list in all 11, but I won't do. But like I said, all of them have to turn up. And all of them have to play well in order to beat Italy, because if any one of them drops, then we'll lose.
Ooh, okay, I do have some news there. It looks like we will be getting someone from the Blue Podcast, and Cam, the Arsenal fan, will be joining us. So just 2 seconds while I send this link to him. What I would ask you, what I would ask you is a very important question. Does Jordan Pickford give you confidence? Because yesterday nearly made a few catastrophic mistakes.
I think I still do rate his kicking, even though there were some poor attempts yesterday, and I still think overall Southgate needs to make sure that we play the same team that we have played for the previous few games. So he can't change it now. It's far too late to change, and I think overall Pickford's had a very good tournament. I still think at shot stopping, he's proven himself very good. He's made stops at quite key points in matches. So I do trust Jordan Pickford, and I am fully behind him. I'm fully behind all of them. I mean, they do deserve that, having got to a final when most people wouldn't have thought they would get to a final. So, like I said, I'm fully trusting them. They just need to ensure their mentality. I think the mentality is important. I think whoever wants to win this more will win it out of Italy and England. So mentality's got a strong point to play. And I would hate to think, the one thing I would hate to see is even if we do lose, I would hate to see any of the players come off with regrets that they haven't tried hard enough and they haven't properly committed literally all their 100% of effort. So yeah, Pickford, like I said, gets my full backing. Just needs to retain his composure, coolness and calmness with his kicking and also with his shot stopping and his command of the box. And obviously the defenders in particular also, same as they did against Denmark, I think we restricted Denmark to very, very few chances. I thought the defence and obviously the holding midfielders did well in their defensive capacity. They had very little, obviously 3 shots on target, including the free kick, which was exceptional by Damsgaard. But I think over 120 minutes, that's quite good. So the defence is key. Obviously, because there'll probably only be one goal, in my opinion, there'll probably only be one goal in it. So,
who do you think has been England's best player of the tournament so far? Who would you say has been if you were to pick one player you give all your credits to, who would it be?
Raheem Sterling. I know obviously I've been critical of him in the first few matches, but I think overall in the knockout stages, which is when you can really judge a player, I think obviously he's got, you can't knock the fact that he came up with important goals in that group stage, but I don't necessarily think he played well for the rest of the match. But obviously those goals are vital, goals in matches, as Michael Owen might say. So it's very important. I think in the knockout rounds, he's come into his own. I think obviously against Germany, he was vital in both of those goals. And he was a constant thorn in Germany's side with his running and attention to detail. Obviously, he was excellent against Ukraine. I thought he was, until I thought he was my man of the match against Ukraine. Regardless, I think Harry Maguire won the star of the match. And also, just on that point, I think in the semi, obviously, I've alluded to it as well. 10 take-ons last night, and he was just peerless. He was fantastic. I mean, like I said, I haven't rated him. I've constantly sort of slated him, but I think in this tournament he's been fantastic. And in the most important points, which is how you should always judge someone in the most important moments, Raheem Sterling's been our best player. He's been our clutch player. He was vital again last night. We looked like we were probably going to go to penalties, and then it's him taking a man on, drawing the foul, and obviously winning the penalty. And again, it's he's been phenomenal for me, and he actually does make if we were doing a team of the tournament, he actually does make my team of the tournament at this juncture. I think he's been overall, if you take every single game into account, I think he's been by far and away our best player.
That's did it hurt to say that a Manchester City player was your best player?
To be honest with you, the only thing I care about is we win on. Even for all these players, they can lose every match for the rest of their careers in England, but as long as they win, on Sunday, I don't care.
What are you going to be doing on Sunday? Are you going down to a bar? Are you watching it with your friends? Are you going to sit in your house and hide under the sofa? Like, how will you be going around?
It will be the latter. Obviously, again, I'll be extremely nervous, as nervous as I was against Denmark. But I do have faith in these lads, and I think, like I said, we should be winning this. That's again the important thing, is that we are, if it's all in their hands and they've got basically one opportunity to win a trophy, and it's there's nothing I can really do apart from sort of support them and hope that they're gonna get everything right on the night and not make any mistakes and grind out. I don't mind how we win, but we just have to win. I don't mind if it's the scrappiest thing that's the scrappiest win that you're ever likely to see, as long as we get the trophy. In many years' time, when people are remembering this, they won't remember all the sort of all the different bits and pieces. They'll just remember who wins the trophy. That's always the thing, is that no one ever remembers how they got there. They just remember who wins the trophy. So,
all right, so we've got a new guest. We've got Cam. Cam showed up because Ben couldn't be bothered to answer me on Snapchat.
I'm here to save the day, boys. I'm here to save the day. How are you?
Yeah, so we're up to 2 months. So obviously, everyone knows Cam's the Arsenal fan. This is the first Purple Show member on the Golden Show. You guys are taking your time. You can't abandon us for like 7 episodes.
Oh yeah, I can sit here and talk about Arsenal a lot if you need. So even though I might not talk about it quite so much right now, but
well, we'll get on the Arsenal. But we're talking about England at the moment, and obviously England reaching the final. So I'll ask you the same question I started with George: is it coming home? Is it coming home on Sunday?
oh, this Wi-Fi is dodgy.
Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it coming home on Sunday?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said George. Oh, my bad. Of course it's coming home. Of course it is. Of course it's coming home. That's absolutely, like, you've got to have faith, no? You've got to have faith.
I'm Northern Irish, so I don't care.
Do you think it's coming home then? For
No.
us?
I think Italy's going to win.
How dare you?
Italy are 24 games unbeaten and they can win ugly. So
the thing is, Josh is normally wrong anyway, so we've pretty much nailed it on.
Yeah. No, I shouldn't really get too cocky because it is Italy and they've been very good. They've been very, very good. But so have England. That's the thing. So.
I asked George if you had to pick one player from the England squad who you think's been the best player of the tournament for you, who would it be? He's picked Sterling. Who do you pick?
I'd have to go the same. Unfortunately, I wasn't. That's not a player I'd expect to say, but he just has been. He's scored the vast majority of our goals. He was the only reason we had any goals in the group stages. Like him, or you could push for like, I mean, Declan Rice has been outstanding. Someone like, I mean, Pickford, he kept his clean sheets, he's got the Golden Glove, but it's still Pickford. He looked a bit shaky in the last game against Denmark for a few minutes, but no, it has to be Sterling. Surely, it has to be. So.
That's fair enough. What do you make of England's tournament altogether then, compared to the World Cup 5 years ago? Obviously, there's been massive improvement in mentality and even in style and all. Were all the England fans wrong to criticise Gareth Southgate?
In the World Cup, yeah, I'd say so. I think he got it wrong. Tactics were wrong. But I mean, if you look at this squad now, it's just an absolute just depth of quality, depth of talent. It's just, and it's great. It's great. I love it. It's great. But I mean, yes, that kind of criticism was warranted, I think, for the World Cup, because we should have done better than we did anyway. We did great, did amazing, but should really have beaten Croatia on the day to then lose how we did. But I mean, for this Euros, we've got quite nice as well. Like, the group stages, not that hard of a group. And then, okay, around a 16 against Germany, massive game, but then to have Denmark and whoever it was before, bloody Sweden, whoever it was, that you don't get that a lot at all, do you? You don't, like. So I can't complain. Can't complain.
George, who is the English FA paying in UEFA to get these easy George year beyond year beyond year? In Northern Ireland, can you give something Northern Ireland tips on how to get easy George?
The thing is that's just the way the tournament's panned out, though, isn't it? We all thought. I mean, if you obviously on a different show, I sort of said as well about England. I thought when we obviously did it that England were going to play Germany. I still thought we would beat them. I think home advantage has been a massive thing in this, and I think England have been exemplary. And ultimately, like I said, it's just the way the cookies crumbled. We knew that we were going to play Germany. Obviously, a lot of people had Germany as favourites as well, but they were just worse than us. I think we were always going to beat them. And then obviously, Holland, or the Netherlands, I should say, lost to Czech Republic due to a red card. So they might have been a more difficult semi-final opponent. But like I said, England are deserved to be in the final. And I think we will beat Italy.
I asked George Cam. George says he's going to be at home watching the final. Are you going to be going down to the local bar and celebrating with all the England fans?
I don't know George's circumstance, but I actually have COVID right now. You couldn't tell. I'm pretty okay, which I'm very lucky for. But I have to isolate until next Tuesday, so I have to be here, unfortunately. But otherwise, I would be down the pub because it's something that, even yesterday, it's something that I wish I didn't miss it because it was electric. Like things like that don't happen a lot at all. So the fact I missed out on it, I'm a bit bummed out about it, but it's okay. It's gonna happen again in my lifetime, I'm pretty sure. So.
Well, the World Cup's only next year, so you never know. Here's a question here's a good question for you both. I'll start off with you, George. In terms of the Italian team, all right, who would you say from the Italian team is where Gareth Southgate's going to have to be thinking? What team? Obviously with their starting left back tearing his Achilles, he's out. So who in the Italy squad should England be worrying about the most?
I think they have to worry about that midfield just as a whole. I think that trio has been very good. Obviously, Jorginho seems to control and dominate proceedings, but he'll be sort of in direct competition, obviously, with Mason Mount, club mates, so they should know each other's game inside and out. So that'll be a very interesting battle. But like I said, we need to make sure that Jorginho, Verratti, and Barella don't have enough time on the ball. That's going to be the key and crucial battle is that midfield. If we have more possession, or at least if we do better with our possession, then I think we can we will win quite comfortably. But it's just making sure that they don't have it. I mean, like I said, I don't think there's been any point in this tournament where we haven't looked safe or secure compared to any other team. And I think Italy, as we know, against Austria in that second half, should have lost. Against Spain, they were the worst team for that entire match, but Spain just couldn't finish. And Belgium, I think, really did. Again, they were very lucky against Italy because Belgium really did put them under the cosh. And there was that moment where Lukaku just couldn't grow high enough to actually head that ball in to sort of make it more interesting. So I think Italy have shown a lot of frailties in their team where I don't think England have.
What about you, Cam? What do you think about the Italian squad? What worries you the most about them?
I'd say exactly the same. Midfield is just quality. Every single player in that midfield is absolutely world class. Apart from Jorginho, I think Sarri recently came out and said that he's a Ballon d'Or contender, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm more Verratti, Insigne. They are both unplayable on their day for me. They're both so good, but we've got Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips to sort them out. So, who have been great. But then their defense, you are right, George. Their defense is literally, it's almost so full frontal that they make mistakes or they leave gaps because they're so kind of hot-headed to win the ball or go get it, and that leaves space open. So I think the game for us will be won based on taking our chances. I think they could score against us, but we can also score against them. It's kind of going to be one of those close games where it's a finite margins. It's not going to be a blowout either way. Neither team's going to bottle it. It's going to be really close, and you're going to get half chances or a big chance, and you've got to take it. Against Denmark yesterday, Sterling against Schmeichel. So first of all, fair play, a good save. But when he's in front of the goal and he's got the majority of the goal to score in, and then he puts it straight in the middle of the keeper, if he does that against Italy, that could cost us the game.
It actually wasn't a good save either, was it? It literally was, because he literally hit it straight at him. It was Mike had no chance whatsoever, and he just hit it in literally the only place where it wouldn't have been a goal.
Exactly.
Fortunately, it didn't sort of make a difference, did it?
It didn't, but then something like that is something that has to be taken. So you have to. We'd be looking on that if we'd lost yesterday, and we'd be going, that's a chance that we should be doing that every single time, and it would be something we'd be highlighting instead of going, oh, it doesn't really matter because we won anyways. But we'll see.
I thought that goal, that equalising goal, we had to get very quickly, because all I could think about was the longer this goes on and it goes into sort of second half, the more that Denmark start to feign more injuries, which they did all match, to waste time, and the more that England become incredibly anxious and agitated and start trying to rush things and not taking their time over attacking so long it went on. So I thought we had to score before half time, and obviously thankfully through quite an unlucky own goal, but really couldn't do much about it, we did so. But like I said, I think the longer that went on, the more chance Denmark had of really fully parking a bus, which they already did anyway, but they hadn't really got themselves set at that point. I think we were creating chances, and like I said, I think that the timing of the goal and the fact that it was relatively soon after their goal was very, very important.
100%. I think I kind of remember the game yesterday. Denmark had probably, I would say, about 10 minutes of the game, the entire game, where they were pressing, pushing, trying to do something with the ball. But the rest of it was England. Even at extra time, completely dominated. The last 15 minutes of the second half, we could have gone and got a goal. And then obviously got the penalty, which may or might not have been a penalty. I don't know, but I'm not sure. We've got the squad, we've got the depth, we've got everyone fit. There's no reason why we can't go beat Italy at all. And it's at Wembley as well, home advantage. It's just meant to be. It's meant to be.
It is a very interesting one. Taking the best out of it, Cam, do you not think it's a bit unfair that England have had every single game at Wembley but one? Do you not think that is a bit unfair?
It's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm sorry. I can't help it. It's one of the best games in the world, in Europe. Every game should be held there, really, but...
The thing is, Josh, that because I had this argument with, I actually know a Swedish sort of fan or Swedish person that I sort of talk to quite regularly. And again, they were sort of making that a point that it was unfair that England had all the home advantage. But I said that you probably did, obviously you're not quite old enough, but you probably didn't have the same energy in 1958 when Sweden went to the World Cup final, when they were hosting it as well. So this has been the same thing for 90 years, or however long football's had World Cups and Euros, where teams have hosted it. So it's exactly the same principle. Obviously, England, I know a lot of other teams, in fact, Italy have played a lot of their games at home as well. So it's exactly the same thing. So it's very remiss, and I think it's a lot of it is bitterness from other fans of other countries about us playing our game.
It would be tough, though. I think it was Wales in the group stages had to go from Baku to somewhere in Scandinavia within a week. And, that would take it out of you a bit. But from our point of view, is it just a bit lucky? I don't know how the stadiums are allocated. Is it to do with is it random, or is it literally just see
the teams where that was the main thing? And it was also because the Republic of Ireland had a couple of games taken off them, and they went to Wembley, and that's where England were playing and all too. It's kind of a whole mix of things.
We just got lucky, I guess. Just got very lucky. And if you saw the Wembley like holding the final, we wouldn't expect to get there anyway. So like doesn't really matter before, but obviously it matters now, and it's a massive advantage for us. So
Well, what would your celebrations be if you win? Like, what would your? I know, Cam, you're in self isolation, but what would your self isolation celebration be on Sunday night if you, or on Tuesday when you're allowed to leave?
well, on Sunday, I know I'll definitely be out in the garden doing laps, shouting. But I mean, it would just be like it's like weird to. I don't really want to jinx it. I don't want to describe how I'm going to feel because we're not guaranteed to win it. So, like, it would just be absolute jubilation, wouldn't it? It would just be that, like, fuck that, wow, just wow. Like, even getting to a final is very good. Like, considering things that have happened in our way, which have greatly given us a massive advantage with France, Portugal going out very early and things like that. It's just going to be nice. It's just going to be good. But especially what's gone on as well the last coming up to nearly a couple of years now to do with COVID. It's like a year and a bit. It would just be good for everyone, wouldn't it? So we'll see.
What George, what will your celebration be on Wednesday night? What about Sunday night? Sunday night
for me, but I think it will take a few weeks probably to really settle in because I've had many years of disappointment and hurt with England. This is all going all the way back to like 1998, so that World Cup. Again, I can sort of reel off all the different heartaches and disappointments that we've had since then. So I think it will just be one of relief and not really believing it for at least a few weeks, and then it will be sort of celebrating and just really sort of reveling in it. But again, like sort of Cam has illustrated, we are definitely not guaranteed this, and Italy are a very formidable opponent. So we just make sure that we stay humble at this juncture, and the players need to stay concentrated and make sure they all do their jobs. And I think we do have better squad than Italy, so those substitutes are going to be very key.
That's fair enough. I think it's supposed to be able to pick him, man, guys. Like Cam's at Arsenal, and he's not really used to winning things, so this is a whole new experience for him.
Here we go. This is what I came for.
Tom told me to do it, so you can go and punch him in the face next time you see him. But midweek, me and George started looking ahead to pre-season games, pre-season in general, and some pre-season games. Obviously, as you all know, Arsenal have a tournament with ourselves, Chelsea, and Spurs. So for some whatever reason, why we're doing a stupid little tournament, but anyway. In terms of Arsenal and transfer businesses and all, what's Arsenal transfer window been like so far?
Non-existent so far. I think we might be signing a Benfica left back. That's about it. It's all kind of up in the air. Oh, you linked to this person, you linked to that person. Oh, but you never get them. Oh, make a deadline day signing. That'll do. Right, good. So let's move on with the season. That's typically how it is. I think more importantly at the moment, Guendouzi's gone off. He's gone to Marseille. Very good. Loan option to buy, so he's out of the club. We just kind of need to get rid of some dead words. Like Hector Bellerin, for me, not good enough. Like I personally think this transfer window could be better to get a better option to get people out than get people in. And then look, not to say that we shouldn't buy anyone. We need depth at certain positions like left back. We could do with another striker that's actually going to score some goals. I still think we need another midfielder as well. Jack has gone, so we need to replace him.
Odegaard too. He's not coming back.
Exactly. So that's another position. That's another midfielder. I think, there's options. I would rate Brighton for Lamptey and Basuma. Because Basuma you could get for what I'd pay up to 50 million for him, and I think he's worth more than that, personally. I think him and Partey together would be great. That's what I'm saying. And I mean, Aouar as well. Always linked with him the last couple of seasons, but never quite got there. Camavinga, very good player, but likely to go somewhere better because he's not going to want to come to Arsenal. And that's the problem that we've got at the moment. No European football, nothing really going on for us apart from a project. So,
Well, you see, George is a massive doubter of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but you're a massive pro of Michael Arteta.
I am.
It's very contrary. Arteta's doing worse than what Solskjaer is technically in the rankings, but you're Arteta in and he's Arteta out. So he's Solskjaer out, sir.
Yeah, I can completely see why you're Solskjaer out. I said that for like the last year with Man United. It's just, all it is like smoke and mirrors for when you're doing well, and you're like, oh, great result. Oh, it's working. It was keeping. Let's keep him. And then you forget about the fact that actually the way you're playing is not great, and you're scraping through these results, or you might get a big win against someone, and then you'll kind of go back to slating him as a fan base when it starts going a bit tipped up. It's like, okay, well, why weren't you doing this before? Because you're still playing the same way, you're just not getting results this time. But for Arsenal, Arteta, the way Arsenal are playing, it's nice to see, it's positive to see. Under Emery, it was horrible, it was disgusting. Like the football they were playing was just, it was hard to watch.
Freddie Limburg.
You can't slate him. You can't slate Freddie. Like he had no choice. Like what could he do with that set of players? Like came as interim manager. He's not really managed before, and I mean, no.
I think I bring back some memories of Ryan Giggs as interim manager at United.
I'm actually surprised that you've still got Mikel Arteta because obviously this season, or last season, I should say now, the way that it was going. He did absolutely terribly, didn't he? I can't remember what position you were in at sort of Christmas time, but although you're with your squad, there's no way you should have been anywhere close to that. I mean, in all seriousness, and I thought he was going to get sacked eventually, but obviously they've stuck with him. I think a season out of Europe is going to be good for you, although it will be unhelpful in terms of attracting the best talent, as you've already sort of outlined. I think it will be good for Arsenal to sort of concentrate on one game at a time, and obviously, half jokingly, no one really thought about Leicester when they won their Premier League, obviously without any European football. So
get me started.
you never know what sort of almost one match a week can do.
Chelsea was the same. Obviously, when we didn't get European football under Antonio Conte's first season, we won the league. So is it coming to the Emirates next season?
I can pray and wish and. It's true though. One game a week on the weekends. You train all week for it. That's the only game you've got to go and win. Like that's where you get results. That's where you don't have to rotate. Like you can have less injuries. Your players are going to be fitter. We'll do better. We might get back into Europe, but it's still not guaranteed at all. Like it depends what happens. More so of what other teams are like, what they're doing more than us, because we can still perform and get results, but everyone else could just do better. We'll see.
Just on signings, when you're sort of making or outlining on there, one of the players you are quite intensely linked to is Manuel Locatelli. I don't know if you sort of follow Fabrizio Romano on Twitter, who's quite sort of almost like the transfer guru. Yeah. He has said quite recently, I think today, he said that from Sassuolo, obviously, which is who Locatelli plays for, that apparently they're in advanced talks with a club from abroad, because obviously there are links to Juventus as well, but apparently they're in advanced talks, and he has hashtagged that as Arsenal. So what are your thoughts on maybe getting Locatelli?
But to be fair, I don't know much about him apart from the fact that he's popped off a little bit in this Euros. There's actually quite a lot of talent that's coming out of this Euros who are going to get picked up by bigger clubs. I think from what I've seen him play Italy, because that's all I can go off, of course, take him. He scored a couple of goals. He's been solid. But I mean, is it just going to be like a James Rodriguez where he turns up for a major tournament and then gets bought by a bigger club and then kind of doesn't really do much, like maybe has like a good bit of form and then drops out of it. I don't know that much about him to kind of really give like a proper like picture of it, but I mean, take him. Juventus want him. He's obviously decent, so why can't we have him? But if you were him, would you go to Juventus or Arsenal?
I think that's the issue, isn't it? I think from what I can understand, obviously Italian clubs have really, that is the main strength the Premier League has, is obviously the money that we have in the Premier League compared to any other league. And I think the Italian clubs can't really afford him. I think that's why they're not potentially going for him. So, but Bissouma, I think obviously you spoke about him. I think he would be a very good player for you guys, and he's someone I would want at United as well.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt.
So in terms of expectations for next season, George is challenging for the title. I'm finishing in the top 4 because if we don't get a striker, then I might as well stick myself up front. Because Drury's going to AC Milan, Abraham's going to Aston Villa, Timo Werner is not a striker apparently under Thomas Tuchel, and we're not going to get Haaland. So, and Haaland's not going to get Haaland. So, what's your, is it European Conference League? Is it European Europa League, or is it somehow get Champions League football?
See, this is a very tough one because, I mean, the ambitious and kind of like deluded part of my Arsenal fan wants to say top 4, but realistically, that's not going to happen. Like, looking at teams that are going to get top 4 and challenge and compete for it, Arsenal are part of that bracket at the moment. So realistically, challenging for top 6 and finishing above Spurs is probably my expectations for the season.
Just to say, what do you think about Spurs next year under Nuno? Do you think they're going to be much of a threat, or do you think it was a terrible appointment?
To be fair, the players that Spurs have got after Mourinho being in there would suit Nuno, I think, because, I mean, he's going to play 5 at the back, just like at Wolves. They've got some solid centre-backs that are a bit slow, so they need another centre-back there anyway. And they've got some decent wing-backs. And then they've got Harry Kane and Son. So
I don't know if Harry Kane joins Ben's club.
If Harry Kane stays, which he shouldn't, I think he should go to City. But even if they've still got Son, he can play in a 2, like centre forward. It could work out, but I don't think it will be instant. I don't think Nuno's got the football to take them into where they want to be. Where they want Champions League football because they were in a final a couple of years ago. They want that again, but I don't think they're going to get Champions League football with him.
Even when Arsenal are struggling, you're still winning FA Cups and all, and Spurs can't even get. They're so happy, but they're so happy to have the Aldi Cup.
They just bottle it.
They count the Aldi Cup as a big trophy. They still talk about it.
Because that's all they can get. It's all they can win. That's why.
What was the Aldi Cup? Was like a pre-season tournament trophy thing that they won. Like I don't even know what the Aldi Cup was.
They probably put it in the trophy cabinet, like the one thing there, just like.
Do you think they'll win the European Conference League, which is literally like, there's no reason why Spurs should not win that tournament? Look at the teams that are in it.
They have to, surely they have to. If they don't, it just proves my point. Like they will bottle it. They'll play like a youth team, and they'll get beat, and then that'll be it. And then, but all you see is Spurs have been knocked out. You won't see like, Spurs' under 23s have been knocked out of European Conference League. It will be Spurs as a club. And it's just meant to be. It's just going to happen. Like.
George, do you think you could win the European Conference League with Spurs if you were the manager? Zero managerial experience, never trained with a team in your life. Do you think you could still win it?
I think I'd do a better job than Ollie, so I think I could definitely win Spurs a Conference League. So yeah.
So I mean, he hates Ollie with a passion. Literally, the guy despises him.
I don't blame you at all. I really don't. I really don't blame you.
I don't obviously So we've talked about England, we've talked about Arsenal. Here's a random question. I don't know if any of you should really care about the Copa de America. Who do you think's going to win between Argentina and Brazil? Any,
I want Brazil to win.
you want
I
Argentina to win?
I think it'll be Brazil because, as we know with Messi, with Argentina, we know those two don't necessarily mix. So I think Brazil will win. But
I want Messi to win it.
The good thing for Argentina is that Emi Martinez is a real bonus for them. I think for a long time, obviously with Willy Caballero and people like that, they've always had a terrible keeper. So I think Emi Martinez is.
You dissing Caballero?
I think other than obviously penalty shootouts, he's as an actual keeper, he's terrible. I think Emi Martinez was an inspirational it was inspirational to allow him to start playing. I think he's a real strength for Argentina. But I still expect Brazil to win. But what I would say is about Fred. Fred's playing a lot for Brazil, so that's obviously an advantage for Argentina. So.
I love it. It's so true.
You just made me think. You're talking about Granit Xhaka. How do you feel about Granit Xhaka leaving? I was about to ask you that. Before we forgot. Love and hate relationship probably is probably a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's typical Arsenal for us to send a player out and sell him when he's playing the best football he's played for years. Typical, absolutely typical. I think we could have bumped his price tag because of how he's played for Switzerland at the Euros, especially against France. That itself would have added a little bit of extra on to say, oh no, we want to keep him now. You've got to pay a bit more. I think he was inevitable. He's always going to leave. He should have left last season, really. But I think he dragged that out a bit and then left this season. But this last year, he's been a good servant, and he's not made up for what he did, but he's kind of kept his head down and I think he's only got sent off twice, which is quite good for him this season. So, he's not going with that much bad blood, I don't think. Like, people have kind of forgotten about it and moved on from it. It'll always be there as like a massive disrespect, but he's also been at the club for quite a long time, and he's also been with some good moments as well. So,
to another player leaving, I have to mention that goalkeeper, Rudigan, so whatever you call him.
That young talent that's 25 or 26. That one, the Emi Martinez replacement, that was. Yeah.
Why did you sign him?
To replace Emi Martinez, that was our replacement for him. So we sold Martinez for about 20-25 million to Aston Villa, absolute bargain for them, and then go and sign this £3 million goalkeeper to try and replace him. I think he played 2 games and he was absolutely awful. He was so bad.
That's why you got Matt Ryan, isn't it?
But Matty Ryan, he's solid. Like, as a backup goalkeeper, he was a number 1 for Brighton. He's an Arsenal fan, so he enjoys sitting on the bench just because he's got the Arsenal badge on. He's better than Runarsson. But I'm glad. I think he's gone now, Runarsson.
Yeah, he's playing in Turkey.
Good.
Just very quickly, Cam, while we've got you, obviously, as an Arsenal fan, at the moment, I feel like the rumours about the Spotify takeover from Daniel Ek have gone a bit quiet. What's the sort of latest on that? Do you know? Or
they're brewing. They're staying in there. Daniel Ek is going to take over Arsenal, but when, I don't know. He's got too much money, like way too much money, and he wants to see Arsenal winning. He wants to see Arsenal where they should be. And he is going to throw a lot of money at it for the Cronkies to sell. For me, that's going to have to be I think they valued it at 2 billion. He already offered 1.8. 200 million in the grand scheme of things. In that, when you're talking about that amount of money, 200 million isn't that much in the context of what they're offering. So, I mean, if he bumped it up and they said yes, I would be laughing. I would absolutely just go nuts, because that would mean fan ownership, which is a lot like Spanish clubs, but it gives more fan inclusion, which we've not got. you've got the legends on the boards, which is great because then you've got fan representation because they are.
It's one of them people not the current Crystal Palace manager.
I mean, yeah, but he's not going to stay there for long, is he? Let's be real. You know what he's doing? He's preparing to come join Arsenal later on. That's what he's doing. So
using Palace as a stepping stone.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't even know what experience Vieira's got. I'm not even too sure.
Nice.
Was it Nice? Did they do any well?
Nope. All three
Wow. Ouch. Oh well. But yeah, no. If it happens, then great. But if it doesn't, then it's just going to stay the same. It's going to be the same cycle as it has been for the last, I would say, like 10, 12 years. It's been the same repetitive season after each other. And I mean, that's as far as I can really remember knowing and recognising that's what's going on. That's why my dad can't watch it anymore, because he grew up watching Arsenal. And in the sort of the last 15 plus years, he's just seen the same stuff every season upon season, and he's just kind of had enough. But for me, like, change has to come from the top. That's where the problem is.
How much do you hate the concrete?
Quite a lot, like, quite a substantial amount. I blame them for.
Are they worse than the Glazers?
I'm not sure how George feels about Glazers, so
He hates them.
more than Ollie, or
There you go, George. Right, do you hate the Glazers more than Ollie?
I think overall, ultimately, the buck stops with them. They're the reason why, obviously, them and the board are the reason why Ollie's still in a job. So you have to sort of look higher, don't you? I think both United and Arsenal have got so many problems, and that's the only thing I would say is, especially with Arsenal, at least with Ollie, although it's not good enough, he's sort of stabilised it a bit in terms of the players that we're bringing in. And also he has got rid of quite a few terrible players as well. So I think that's been good. But with Arsenal, as you sort of mentioned, I just see the same year over and over again. And I also think there's so many problems with Arsenal that even maybe ownership won't solve.
Potentially, yeah. I think that I know there's Arsenal fans that I talk to or have seen talking, and they are convinced that Arteta's not the right man for the job, that we need to sack him and get someone else in. And it's like, okay, that would be a short-term fix. Like, that would work for, I don't know, a couple of months. We get a new manager in, you've got a new manager spring, you perform for him, you want to get into the team, and then you realise you've got the same players in because you've not invested, and then it just all happens over and over again. Vicious cycle. Man United did it when they lost Ferguson for years, recycling managers with near enough the same team, unless you gave that manager investment, which then didn't end up working at all. I think
that's more the case with us as well, is that we had, unlike you guys, obviously you're correct, you didn't really have correct investment, but we had a lot of investment in terms of monetary value, but the players we bought were all terrible. A lot of them didn't work out. We spent a lot of money, but they didn't work out. And I think that's slightly changed now with regards to slightly better recruitment of players and stuff.
So, but all to me, that screams like changing your manager every like 6 months to a year isn't the solution, and just throwing loads of money at it also isn't the solution. It's, for me, like, it's going to have to be. I'd rather stick with Arteta and make signings that he wants to improve the team, because he is trying to get the team to play a certain way, and I like the way that Arteta wants to play. It's nice football. It's attractive football. It's essentially the way that Guardiola wants to play, but a bit more of what Arteta wants as well. And the way that Guardiola gets his teams playing is how to win. So from my point of view, we would be so stupid to get rid of Arteta because of how quality he is already and how good he's going to be as well. So he's literally learned from the best manager you could say that's one of the best managers that's ever lived. Not to Fergie or Arsene Wenger. But I mean, we would just be stupid. Like, we would just be stupid. So,
why do you think you've had such a lot of disciplinary issues under Arteta, though? I think that's been, for me, when I've because I've only really sort of watched a few Arsenal games and stuff, but a lot of the time I've seen, stupid red cards and things like that costing you guys. So, like, why do you think that's happened? It seems to happen a lot more under Arteta than it has on previous managers.
I think it was more. We had some problems in, like, dressing room problems when he came in, because I think he came in and was just like, look, I need to sort you out. If you don't fit my criteria of stuff, you're not going to be in the team. You're not playing. And then in terms of actually on the pitch, not having much discipline, that for me is a personal thing for the players. Like, you saw the same players doing it. So you had Xhaka and Gabriel, who were getting, I think they got sent off like 2 weeks in a row, or like Gabriel gets sent off in the cup and then gets sent off in the league or something stupid. Like, for me, that's just them. That's not on the pitch. A manager can't literally pick you up and put you on the how you play. That for me is a decision that they make on the pitch, and that's down to them. That's
one of the things I think you guys need to stop doing is buying Chelsea rejects as well, because I think they've all worked out terribly.
Backy up, go release a leaf if you want that Grand Xhaka replacement.
You want to sell them off, do you? Oh, well, I'm not interested personally, but the Arsenal board might be. You never know. They've got some good ties. I'm pretty sure the only reason we took Willian off your hands was because David Luiz was best mates with him.
That was a terrible signing. That was awful. Like, that guy's one of the worst. He's so bad.
The worst thing was, I think he ended the season with the most assists, I'm pretty sure, in either the league or the Europa League or something like that, which is really bad to think about it, because he was awful. He was not good at all. But
do you think that Aubameyang will rediscover his form? Because obviously he was a leading light for you guys, wasn't he, for a couple of seasons? But it feels like last season, after he got his massive pay bump, it felt like... I know he had a few illness issues, didn't he? Malaria, didn't he have?
He did have malaria.
But do you think possibly... I mean, we've had this mistake as well with people like Alexis Sanchez. Do you think sometimes that players get bumper deals and then they're almost coming to their end of their career, because different players obviously have different times where they start to be on the decline? Do you think that is going to be a general decline now for Aubameyang, or do you think he can rediscover his best form?
I hope he does, but I don't think he will. I don't think we'll see another golden boot Aubameyang in the Premier League. Like, again, I don't think we will. For me, it's all a confidence thing. He's a massive confidence striker. When he's on it, you can't stop him. Like, he's still going to score some massive goals. He might not score loads, but he's going to score some really important goals, and he's worth keeping in the team for that. In terms of like what he can offer to the squad as well, I don't think he's the most vocal, but he's definitely one of the most kind of involved in the team. He's a senior player. He's one to look up to for our younger players. Same for Lacazette as well. Lacazette's a massive player for the young players. Like, the way that they will be able to teach them and then move on in a couple of years' time, that's invaluable to keep him in. That's a reason to, just in itself. So I think, no, we won't see Aubameyang again, as it should be, but he'll still be a massive part of the squad, a massive part of the team.
And I just have to ask you this as well. Bukayo Saka has had very good Euros, hasn't he? He's come in and he's obviously a very, very young player. What do you think his ceiling will be? Do you think he'll obviously stay with Arsenal, or do you think he'll move on to another club, or do you think he'll be sort of challenging for Ballon d'Or? Because he does have... I really like him. I think he's an amazing player. What do you think his sort of like end will be in terms of his career? Where do you think he can reach?
I definitely hope he stays at Arsenal. He's been with us since he was literally a boy. like a little boy. He's gone through the academy. He's played every single age group for the academy, just like he has for England as well. He could be an absolute club legend, but as is the thing nowadays, depending on the type of player that he is, if he wants to go win things, if he wants to earn a lot of money, then that will be draws away from Arsenal. I don't think he'll want to, but money talks, and if someone came coming like, I don't know, a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, maybe not now because of finances, but in normal circumstances, how can you say no to them? How can you turn around and turn them down because you want to stay loyal to your club? It's something like that's very difficult, and we've seen it a lot. But nowadays, you don't get a lot of one person club players. Like, you just don't get that much. In terms of like ceiling wise, he can definitely be one of the best in the league, if not the world, in that kind of category of players. I don't think he'll become the best player in the world, just because of the other types of young players that are there around. So Mbappe, Haaland, just even like Phil Foden is quality, absolute quality. But he'll definitely be in and around that bracket for me, because he's got every single attribute you could ask for. And I'm happy for him, because he's got to show that for England as well. And hopefully he can bring that into the Arsenal season as well. So.
Right. My final question for you, Sia, before we wrap it up. I'll ask you two. One about England, one about your club, just to kind of give it a good ending. The first of it is Cam. I'm going to give you a hypothetical reason that Insigne scores the 92nd minute winner for Italy to give them the European trophy. Would you probably just lie on the floor and cry and just pretend that never happened?
I'd wait for the 93rd minute Harry Kane winner, is what I'd do.
That's a good reply. And regarding Arsenal, what if you did hypothetically go on and win the league and the FA Cup out of nowhere? You just Arsenal back on top. We wouldn't hear the end of it. I think Tom would shut down the channel because of it.
I think there'll be riots. I don't think I don't think it would be. I'd get a tattoo on my face of the Arsenal badge here, right there. Yeah, no, great, because it would shut a lot of people up, which would be great. And I mean, Chelsea are doing a bit better than us recently, so we need to sort that out a little bit. But
is Tom still mentioned in the Champions League?
Of course he hasn't. Any time we're watching football, like it could literally just be sat next to him and you go, "Oh, I'm the Champions League 2 times." It's like, I know.
He still hasn't came on this show yet. You're gonna have to have a wee word with him.
I will. I think he was busy now. He's busy today, so I had to come in and save your day.
Yeah, Ben still hasn't appeared. He's still.
No, he'll turn up sometime.
He's probably sleeping or something. Does he sleep often?
I think so. I'm not sure. You could probably get them both on at the same time. We'll scrape it out, get 2 videos out of it. So.
George, what would your reaction be if United finished 4th next season and wins the trophy and Solskjaer's handed a nice 3-year extension on the contract?
I think he's already been given an estate extension, or at least it's been rumoured. I can't remember what the exact thing is. So, as I've spoken about before, it's something that wouldn't shock me or surprise me. I think the board, their only sort of goal is to get top 4 because of the money. They don't really care about getting trophies, so I think it'd just be resignation. Really, would be my reaction to it. It's not expected.
And see England, what happens if Jordan Pickford costs you the final? Would you personally send out a hitman to find Jordan Pickford?
I think he'd struggle for the rest of his life in England. I think, the way that people are, he'd have a long road to go. A bit like obviously with Southgate, I think he's had that demon in terms of his missed penalties. He's had that almost his entire life now, hasn't he? Since '96. So it's going to be a moment where someone's either a hero or a villain on Sunday, and we just have to hope that we're the heroes.
Yeah.
If it's a villain, then God help whoever.
Yeah,
God help
because
whoever.
it's been horrendous with so many players. Obviously, Beckham in '98, he got a lot of it. Obviously, with that sending off against Argentina. Phil Neville got a bit of stick it after Euro 2000 when he conceded the penalty that lost us, that got us out of that group against Romania. And I think obviously Ronaldo got a lot of stick as well because of his wink. We were quite lucky that year because it was almost like we could have another scapegoat instead of an England player. So yeah, there's always something at fault, and we just hope that it's not going to be an England player.
I've got nothing else to say. If anything else you two want to add?
It's coming out.
It's coming out. I'm gonna have to record and get that and get him Tom put on TikTok. But that's it from us. Thank you, Cam, for coming on, for being the first actual guest on this show, because the rest of them can't be bothered.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
See that just maybe Arsenal fans are the best out on this channel.
Well, tell them that, please. Tell them that. I need someone to back me up. I need some help.
Manchester City fan can't be bothered. Fab, I don't even know. Fab talks outside of being on the actual show. So
He's working.
And then Tom always has an excuse for some sort of excuse every time I ask him. So, but George, thank you for once again being the co-host of the podcast. I'll say this is going to be going up tomorrow night.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for having me as always, Josh, and really great to have a show with Cam as well, guest. So, and really enjoyed as well, obviously, the Arsenal insight as well, because it's always good to speak to an Arsenal fan. My best friend at school was an Arsenal fan, and obviously back then, because it was so long ago, we were rivals really, because obviously it was always United and Arsenal were at the top table.
When it was a conversation, but nowadays not so much.
Yeah.
I remember we were speaking at work the other day about when Arsene Wenger got sent off at Old Trafford and how he just stood in the middle of the in front of the United fans. That was things like that. We don't get any more sad. I don't think we'll be seeing Arteta doing that, would we? Because Arteta's a bit more professional. And anyway, but if you have enjoyed the podcast, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you don't subscribe to the channel, England isn't winning the final. So I expect to see the subscriber count go up a lot. And if you also everyone hit the like button to keep Solskjaer in his job. So we'll see you all later, guys. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.
Why do you let us hurt one another just for the dollar? Did you lose your heart in the darkness deep in your pocket? No, I don't care of the price I pay. I don't wanna spend my life that way. Tell me, is the pain that you're causing worth what you profit?
Yeah, I know that money don't buy happiness, but buys you more material shit. Been reworking how I think and what it means to be rich. I used to think it meant to flex, so Rolex on my wrist. Feels bad to take more than you give. Lately hate how we live. I never wanna become the things that I hate. With a man in the mirror with laughing spit in my face and tell me that the money is maybe another fake. I've been drowning in my mind and my money's been adding weight. Oh Lord, please save me. I should've known that something man-made couldn't make me. I say I'm making music, or is music what creates me? I never have an answer, same question every day. See, when we pass on, all our things are passed on to the next. Everything we didn't do is everything we regret. Every day we fucking work for this worthless check. If you're not happy, you're forever in debt. You're forever in debt.